The energy shift you didn't expect, how your mind shapes the universe. This is True Awakening Channel. Introduction, the invisible revolution. Before anything changes in your external world, something shifts inside you. This is not metaphor. This is mechanism. You are about to understand something that will fundamentally alter how you experience reality. Your mind is not a passive observer of the universe. Your mind is the active field through which the universe takes shape. This audiobook is not about wishful thinking or positive affirmations. It is about the actual energetic architecture of consciousness and how that architecture determines what manifests in your life. We will explore the Hermetic principle that, the all is mind, the quantum field as a responsive medium, and the precise mechanics of how your internal frequency broadcasts into the fabric of reality. What you're about to learn has been taught in esoteric traditions for thousands of years and is now being echoed in quantum physics, neuroscience, and consciousness research. The language may differ, but the truth remains: your inner state is the blueprint. Your thoughts are not isolated events, they are vibrational transmissions. Your beliefs are not just ideas, they are frequencies that shape probability. The energy shift you didn't expect is the one happening right now, inside you, as you begin to remember what you truly are, a conscious creator, standing at the center of your own universe. Let us begin. Chapter 1, The Mind as the Primary Field. The first principle you must grasp is this: reality is not happening to you. Reality is happening through you. The ancient Hermetic axiom states, the all is mind, the universe is mental. This is not poetic language. It is a statement of fundamental structure. Everything you experience, every sensation, every relationship, every circumstance, arises within the field of consciousness. There is no reality outside of mind. There is only mind interpreting vibration, filtering frequency, and constructing experience. Modern quantum physics has begun to approach this same conclusion. The observer effect demonstrates that the act of observation collapses the wave function, bringing potential into actuality. Without a conscious observer, the quantum field remains in superposition, a state of infinite possibility. It is the mind that selects, that focuses, that calls forth one probability over another. This means that your subjective inner world is not secondary to objective reality. Your inner world is the generative source of what you call objective reality. Consider this carefully: if the mind is primary, then changing your external circumstances without first changing your internal state is impossible. You cannot override the blueprint. You cannot manifest from a distorted frequency and expect coherence. The outer world is always a reflection, a vibrational echo, of the inner world. This is why two people can experience the same event and perceive entirely different realities. They are not seeing the same thing through different lenses. They are generating different realities from different frequencies of consciousness. The shift begins when you stop trying to change the world and start reshaping the field from which the world emerges, your own mind. Chapter 2, Thought as Vibrational Transmission. Every thought you think is an energetic event. This is not symbolism. Thoughts are measurable. They generate electromagnetic activity in the brain, creating coherent or incoherent patterns depending on their nature. But the implications go far deeper than neuroscience. Thoughts are not confined to your skull. They radiate outward as frequency, interacting with the quantum field, the responsive, intelligent medium that underlies all physical reality. When you think a thought, you are broadcasting a signal. That signal carries information, emotional tone, belief structure, expectation, and assumption. The field receives this signal and responds accordingly. Not because the universe is granting wishes, but because the field is consciousness itself, and it operates according to resonance. Like attracts like. This is not sentimentality, it is physics. Frequencies that match will amplify each other. Frequencies that clash will interfere. Your dominant mental patterns create standing waves in the field, and those standing waves become the scaffolding upon which your reality builds itself. Here is what most people miss: you are always transmitting. There is no neutral state. Even when you are not consciously directing your thoughts, your subconscious is broadcasting the accumulated frequency of your beliefs, memories, fears, and desires. This autopilot transmission is what creates repetitive patterns in your life, the same relationships, the same obstacles, the same limitations appearing in different forms. The energy shift happens when you become conscious of your transmission. When you realize that every thought is a vote for the reality you experience. When you take responsibility not just for your actions, but for the vibrational signal you are sending into the field, moment by moment. This is the beginning of conscious creation. Chapter 3: The Quantum Field and the Nature of Possibility. The quantum field is not empty space. It is the fundamental substrate of reality, infinite potential organized by consciousness. In quantum mechanics, particles exist in a state of superposition until observed. This means that all possible outcomes exist simultaneously until consciousness collapses the wave function into a single observed reality. The act of measurement, of focused attention, determines which potential becomes actual. What does this mean for you? It means that the reality you experience is not fixed. It is one selection from an infinite array of possibilities. And the selector is your consciousness, your focus, your belief, your expectation. The quantum field does not care what you consciously want. It responds to what you unconsciously are. If your conscious desire is wealth but your unconscious belief is scarcity, the field will reflect scarcity. If your conscious intention is love but your unconscious vibration is fear, the field will manifest experiences that match fear. This is why affirmations often fail. You cannot override the subconscious blueprint with surface-level repetition. The field reads the deeper signal, the accumulated frequency of your self-concept, your worthiness, your internal narrative. The shift you didn't expect is this: the universe is not testing you. It is reflecting you. Every experience is feedback. Every circumstance is a mirror. The quantum field is perfectly responsive, perfectly neutral. It does not judge your frequency. It simply matches it. When you understand this, you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What frequency am I broadcasting that would generate this experience?" That question changes everything. Chapter 4: Belief Systems as Broadcast Frequency. Your beliefs are not just ideas you hold. They are the operating system of your personal reality. A belief is a thought you have repeated so often that it has become unconscious. It has moved from the conscious mind into the subconscious, where it runs automatically, shaping perception, filtering information, and determining what feels possible or impossible. Your beliefs form a coherent frequency signature. This signature is your broadcast signal into the quantum field. Every belief you hold contributes to that signal: beliefs about yourself, about other people, about money, love, health, safety, and what you deserve. Here is the critical insight: you do not see reality as it is. You see reality as you are. Your beliefs create a perceptual filter that only allows in information that confirms what you already believe. This is called confirmation bias in psychology, but it is far more than a cognitive quirk. It is a creative mechanism. When you believe something, you tune your consciousness to that frequency. And because the quantum field is responsive, it delivers experiences that match that frequency. This is not punishment or reward. It is resonance. If you believe the world is dangerous, your nervous system will be attuned to threat. You will notice danger, interpret ambiguous situations as hostile, and unconsciously create circumstances that validate your belief. If you believe you are unworthy of love, you will unconsciously sabotage relationships, misinterpret affection, and attract people who reinforce that unworthiness. The energy shift begins when you stop defending your beliefs and start examining them. When you ask, "Is this belief true, or is it just familiar?" When you recognize that changing your beliefs is not self-deception, it is frequency recalibration. You are not lying to yourself when you adopt an empowering belief. You are tuning to a different channel of reality. And the field will respond to the new signal. Chapter 5: The Subconscious Mind as Blueprint. The subconscious mind is the architect of your experience. While your conscious mind can hold approximately 7 pieces of information at once, your subconscious processes millions of data points per second. It controls your autonomic functions, stores your memories, runs your habitual behaviors, and most importantly, it holds the blueprint of your reality. The subconscious does not think. It does not reason. It simply executes the programming it has received. And that programming comes from 3 primary sources: repetition, emotional intensity, and early conditioning. Whatever has been repeated enough times becomes subconscious. Whatever was experienced with strong emotion becomes subconscious. Whatever was imprinted during childhood, when your conscious filters were not yet developed, becomes subconscious. This is why you can consciously want success while unconsciously sabotaging yourself. Your conscious desires are weak signals compared to the deep, entrenched patterns of the subconscious. The subconscious always wins. It is the dominant broadcaster. But here is the liberating truth: the subconscious can be reprogrammed. Not through force or willpower, but through the same mechanisms that programmed it in the first place: repetition, emotional resonance, and deep states of consciousness. When you enter meditative states, hypnagogic states, or moments of profound emotion, the doorway to the subconscious opens. In these states, you can introduce new patterns, new beliefs, new identities. The energy shift happens when you stop fighting your subconscious and start communicating with it. When you recognize that it is not your enemy, it is your most powerful ally. It is the part of you that interfaces directly with the quantum field. It is the part of you that manifests. Change the subconscious blueprint, and the external reality has no choice but to rearrange itself. This is not magic. This is mechanics. Chapter 6: Emotional Frequency and the Bending of Probability. Your emotions are not just feelings. They are vibrational instructions to the field. While thoughts provide direction, emotions provide power. A thought without emotional charge is like a seed without water: it contains potential, but it will not grow. Emotion is the activating force. It is the intensity that broadcasts your signal beyond the confines of your personal field and into the larger quantum matrix. Every emotion has a frequency. Fear, shame, and guilt vibrate at low, dense frequencies. Peace, joy, and love vibrate at high, expansive frequencies. These are not subjective experiences. They are measurable states with distinct electromagnetic signatures. The quantum field responds to coherence. When your heart and brain are in coherent rhythm, when your thoughts and emotions align, you generate a powerful, unified signal. This coherence creates what scientists call heart-brain synchronization, which has been shown to influence outcomes, accelerate healing, and increase intuitive perception. But when your thoughts and emotions are in conflict, when you think one thing but feel another, you create incoherent signals. The field receives mixed instructions. Your reality becomes fragmented, unpredictable, and frustrating. Here is what most people do not realize: your emotional state does not just reflect your reality. It actively bends probability. When you are in a state of fear, you collapse wave functions toward experiences that match fear. When you are in a state of gratitude, you collapse wave functions toward experiences that match abundance. The energy shift happens when you stop waiting for circumstances to change before you feel better, and you start generating the emotional frequency first. When you realize that your emotions are not reactions, they are choices. They are tools. They are the language through which you speak to the universe. Feel the reality you want before it appears, and the field will reorganize to match that frequency. This is not pretending. This is pre-creating. Chapter 7: The Unexpected Shift, Awakening Before Manifestation. The shift you didn't expect is the one that happens in silence. Most people believe that spiritual awakening is a dramatic event, a lightning bolt of realization, a sudden transformation. And sometimes it is. But more often, awakening begins as a subtle recalibration of consciousness. A quiet knowing. A gentle release of resistance. A moment where you stop defending the old story and allow something new to emerge. This is the energy shift that precedes all external change. Before your circumstances shift, your frequency shifts. Before your relationships change, your self-concept changes. Before abundance manifests, your internal sense of worthiness expands. The external world is always lagging behind the internal shift. There is a time delay, not because the universe is slow, but because physical reality takes time to reorganize. This is where most people lose faith. They change their thoughts, elevate their emotions, and then look immediately to the external world for validation. When nothing appears to have changed, they conclude that the process doesn't work. They return to the old frequency, and the old reality reasserts itself. But the shift was already underway. The field was already responding. They simply did not give it time to manifest. Awakening requires trust. It requires you to maintain the new frequency even when the old circumstances are still visible. It requires you to live from the end, to embody the state of consciousness that matches your desired reality, before the evidence arrives. This is faith. Not blind belief, but energetic alignment. When you hold the frequency consistently, the external world has no choice but to reflect it. The delay is not a denial. It is gestation. The unexpected shift is the one you feel inside, the peace, the clarity, the subtle certainty, long before anyone else notices. That is the shift that matters. That is the shift that creates worlds. Chapter 8, Self-Awareness as the Trigger Mechanism. Self-awareness is the beginning of all transformation. You cannot change what you are not aware of. You cannot shift a frequency you do not recognize you are broadcasting. Most people move through life unconsciously, running on autopilot, reacting to circumstances, and wondering why the same patterns repeat. Self-awareness breaks the cycle. When you become aware of your thoughts, you gain the power to choose them. When you become aware of your emotions, you gain the power to shift them. When you become aware of your beliefs, you gain the power to reprogram them. But self-awareness is not just introspection. It is energetic. When you become aware of your internal state, you create a gap between stimulus and response. In that gap, choice emerges. And in that choice, a new frequency is born. Here is what makes this so profound: self-awareness itself raises your frequency. The act of observing your consciousness changes your consciousness. This is not just psychology, it is quantum mechanics. The observer affects the observed. When you become the observer of your own mind, you collapse the wave function of your identity into a higher state. This is why meditation, journaling, and contemplation are not just practices, they are technologies of transformation. They train you to witness your inner world without identifying with it. To see your thoughts as events in consciousness, not as truth. To recognize your emotions as energy in motion, not as fixed states. The energy shift happens when you stop being your thoughts and start observing them. When you stop being your emotions and start directing them. When you stop being a victim of your conditioning and start being the conscious architect of your reality. People around you will feel this shift. They may not be able to name it, but they will sense that something has changed. You will carry a different presence. Respond differently. Move through the world with a different quality of awareness. And because consciousness is contagious, your shift will ripple outward, affecting everyone in your field. Self-awareness is not passive observation. It is active creation. It is the moment you remember that you are not the character in the story, you are the author. Chapter 9, Conscious Creation versus Unconscious Creation. You are always creating. The only question is, are you doing it consciously or unconsciously? Unconscious creation is what most people experience as life happening to them. It is the result of running on autopilot, reacting to circumstances, and allowing the subconscious programming to dictate reality. When you create unconsciously, you repeat the past. You manifest from old wounds, limiting beliefs, and inherited patterns. You create by default. Conscious creation is the opposite. It is the deliberate alignment of thought, emotion, belief, and action toward a chosen reality. It is the recognition that you are not a passive recipient of circumstances, you are the generative force behind them. When you create consciously, you manifest from clarity, intention, and elevated states of consciousness. You create by design. The difference between the two is awareness. And with awareness comes responsibility. This is the part many people resist. It is easier to believe that external forces control your life, the economy, other people, fate, bad luck. Because if external forces are in control, you are not responsible. You can remain a victim, and victims do not have to change. But once you understand that your inner state generates your outer experience, you can no longer hide behind circumstance. You are responsible. Not for everything that happens in the world, but for the frequency you hold in response to it. Not for other people's behavior, but for how you interpret and internalize it. Not for the past, but for what you choose to do with it now. Conscious creation begins with radical responsibility. It is the willingness to say, if I am experiencing this, what frequency am I broadcasting that would create it? It is the courage to look inward instead of outward when things go wrong. It is the commitment to align your inner world with the reality you wish to experience. This does not mean you caused every hardship or trauma. It means you have the power to choose what those experiences mean, how they shape you, and what you create from them. The energy shift happens when you stop creating unconsciously and start creating consciously. When you move from reaction to intention. When you recognize that every moment is an opportunity to choose your frequency, and therefore, to choose your reality. Chapter 10, Inner Alignment versus Inner Distortion. Your external reality is a perfect mirror of your internal alignment or distortion. Alignment is coherence. It is when your conscious desires, subconscious beliefs, emotional state, and actions are all broadcasting the same frequency. When you are in alignment, manifestation is effortless. Opportunities appear. Synchronicities multiply. The right people show up at the right time. Life flows. Distortion is incoherence. It is when your conscious mind wants one thing, but your subconscious believes another. When your thoughts say, yes, but your emotions say, no. When your words declare abundance, but your actions reflect scarcity. Distortion creates static in your signal. The field receives mixed instructions and delivers mixed results. Most people live in distortion without realizing it. They set goals that conflict with their identity. They pursue relationships that contradict their self-worth. They desire freedom while maintaining beliefs that reinforce limitation. And then they wonder why nothing works. The path to alignment is not complex, but it is not easy. It requires brutal honesty. It requires you to examine the hidden beliefs running beneath your conscious desires. It requires you to feel the emotions you have been avoiding. It requires you to confront the parts of yourself that are still operating from fear, unworthiness, or control. Alignment begins with congruence. Bring your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and actions into harmony. If you desire peace, stop feeding the internal chaos. If you want love, release the belief that you are unlovable. If you seek abundance, stop acting from scarcity. The energy shift happens when you stop managing your external circumstances and start harmonizing your internal frequency. When you realize that no amount of action can compensate for misalignment. When you understand that the universe does not respond to what you want, it responds to what you are. Become the frequency of what you desire, and the quantum field will deliver the match. This is not philosophy. This is law. Chapter 11, Taking Responsibility for Your Inner World. The moment you take full responsibility for your inner world, you reclaim your power. Responsibility is not blame. It is not guilt. It is the recognition that you are the only one who can change your frequency. No one else can do it for you. Not a teacher, not a healer, not a partner. They can guide, support, inspire, but the shift must happen within you. Most people resist this. They want someone else to fix them, save them, validate them. They want external conditions to change so they can finally feel at peace. But peace is not found in circumstances. Peace is a frequency you generate from within, regardless of circumstances. This is the ultimate spiritual maturity, realizing that no one is coming to save you because you do not need saving. You need only to remember what you are, a conscious creator, a vibrational transmitter, a localized expression of infinite intelligence. When you take responsibility for your inner world, you stop giving your power away. You stop waiting for permission. You stop blaming the past. You stop needing validation from others. You become sovereign. And sovereignty is magnetic. When you are no longer dependent on external conditions for your state of being, you become a stabilizing force. People are drawn to you because you are not feeding on their energy, you are generating your own. Opportunities align with you because you are no longer chasing, you are radiating. The energy shift happens when you stop asking the universe to change and start changing the signal you are sending to the universe. When you stop demanding that reality bend to your will and start bending your frequency to match the reality you desire. When you take full responsibility, not for what happened, but for what happens next. This is not burden. This is liberation. Because if you are responsible for your inner world, you have the power to transform it. And when you transform your inner world, the outer world has no choice but to follow. Chapter 12, The Energy Shift That Rewrites Destiny. Destiny is not fixed. Destiny is frequency. You were not born with a predetermined fate. You were born with a range of potentials, and the destiny you experience is determined by the frequency you hold. Change your frequency, and you change your destiny. This is the energy shift that rewrites everything. It is not a one-time event. It is a continuous recalibration. Every time you choose a new thought, you shift. Every time you release an old belief, you shift. Every time you elevate your emotional state, you shift. These shifts accumulate. They compound. They build momentum. And one day, you look around and realize that your entire reality has transformed. Not because you forced it, but because you became it. You stopped trying to manipulate the external and started mastering the internal. You stopped resisting what is and started creating what will be. The energy shift you didn't expect is the one you can no longer unsee. Once you understand that your mind shapes the universe, you cannot go back to unconscious living. Once you recognize that your frequency is your creative power, you cannot return to victimhood. Once you experience the direct correlation between your inner state and your external reality, you cannot pretend you are powerless. This is the awakening. Not a mystical experience reserved for the enlightened few, but a practical, mechanical understanding of how consciousness operates. You are not discovering something new. You are remembering something ancient. You are reclaiming your birthright as a creator. The shift is already happening. You are feeling it. That subtle expansion, that quiet knowing, that sense that something fundamental has changed, that is not imagination. That is truth revealing itself. Your mind is the original architect of reality. The quantum field is the responsive canvas. Your thoughts, beliefs, and emotions are the brushstrokes. And the masterpiece is your life. The energy shift you didn't expect is the one that changes everything. And it begins now, in this moment, with this recognition. You are not a passive observer of the universe. You are the active creator of it. The shift you feel is not the beginning of something outside of you. It is the awakening of something that has always been within you. This is your power. This is your truth. This is your birthright. The energy shift you feel is real. It is not wishful thinking. It is not self-deception. It is the fundamental recalibration of your consciousness, the moment when you move from unconscious reaction to conscious creation. Your mind is not a byproduct of matter. Your mind is the field from which matter emerges. The universe does not exist independently of consciousness, it exists within consciousness. And you, as a localized point of awareness, have the power to shape the universe through the frequency you hold. This is not philosophy. This is mechanics. This is the operating system of reality itself. The shift happens inside first. It happens in silence, in subtle knowing, in the release of resistance. And then, inevitably, the external world rearranges itself to match the new frequency. Not because you demanded it, but because the field is perfectly responsive. It always has been. It always will be. You are the architect. The quantum field is the material. Your thoughts are the blueprint. Your emotions are the fuel. Your beliefs are the foundation. And your awareness is the tool that refines it all. The energy shift you didn't expect is the one that makes all other shifts possible. It is the shift from separation to unity, from victimhood to sovereignty, from unconscious creation to conscious mastery. This is not the end of your journey. This is the beginning of your true awakening. The moment you realize that you have always been the creator. You have always been the source. You have always been the one shaping reality through the frequency of your consciousness.
Wow, 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 wow. I must say wow. That transmission was very deep. The energy you didn't expect. I didn't expect this energy shift. This was the most deepest transaction that I've went through, and listening to it literally, how can I put it, makes me want to understand my actions, emotions, my thoughts, and understand that I've always been this energy. You just reached the end of this audiobook, the energy you didn't expect shift. And the shift that just happened right now, it's gonna continue happening if you continue listening to this transmission. This was the most powerful one that I've listened to so far, and the one that I've created so far as well, with the help of AI. But thank you once again for listening. This is the True Awakening with Tabang. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I always emphasize this. And also don't forget to turn on your notifications so we can grow this channel together. We can, awaken more souls to the true essence of who they are. So suffering can stop, and so that abundance can flourish, because all of us, we are one, we are the same, and with such transmissions will forever change the world. So make sure that you share with someone that's supposed to be hearing this right now. Stay true, stay awakened.